Good afternoon, Nick. It's Tuesday.
Hello, Nick! Hi, Nick.
Hello. Howdy, Nicholas.
Mitch would also like to add to his hello by telling you that you're pretty. Nick, I'm happy to hear that you have fared well through the storm, but I'd like to remind you that while it may have been easy for you and our family, it wasn't so easy for millions of others. Hurricane, or Superstorm Sandy as they've been calling it, has wrought havoc all along the eastern coast of the United States. Nick, the storm has done tens of billions of dollars of damage to the country, not just in property damage, but also loss of business, as well as destroying millions of homes, killing at least 38 people, though that number is increasing by the hour, and actually leaving parts of Manhattan under 14 feet of water. Basically what I'm saying here is, I hope you recognize how lucky we all are, and by we all, I mean specifically you, myself, and the rest of our family. As far as my own experience with the storm goes, the power here went out for about 3.5 hours last night, which was sort of an interesting turn of events. College is already sort of a funny place. It's a very sort of odd community where people aren't quite familiar with each other, but can appreciate that they're in the same age group and they're living in the same sort of situation. When you sort of inject an event like a power outage into a community like that, really bizarre things happen. Now, this might make a lot of sense and be sort of trivial to say, but a lot of us here at school use the internet. While I realize this is definitely not a surprise to you, a loss of electricity really throws into sharp relief the necessity that the internet has become in our lives, and how truly ingrained it is within our sort of physical beings almost. Actually, until right now, I can honestly say that I don't remember the last time I was bored until last night, which is a really strange idea that the internet can eliminate boredom, and I think that's because I use it for so many different things. Because the internet does a really funny thing that written language attempted to do in the past but never actually achieved. The internet takes all things in life and sort of puts them into a single place where you can access them at any time, almost anywhere. So if you're ever feeling bored and you say want to play a game, or look up a new word, read about a storm that's about to destroy the eastern coast of the United States, talk to your brother through a video, or even buy something, the internet literally takes all the information of the world and gives it to you. And a power outage takes it away. It amazed me how slow time could pass without the internet. While I'm sure some people's computers could have lasted the whole 3.5 hours, even without internet they could have been playing games or something, we all shut those things off and sat in the dark for a while. We did talk for a little bit, but then a funny thing happened. We started talking to other people. We actually made very quick friends with the people that live across the hall from us, who admittedly we have spoken to before, but never with such a sense of actual camaraderie. In fact, one of them knew that I played guitar and asked me to go and sing them a song, which I did. And then we ended up playing more music and singing, and we sat in the hallway and sang with about 20 people, which was really nice. Then we decided to adventure, which is something that I'm sure does not surprise you at all. We went out into the world, and it was really dark. It wasn't extremely stormy near us, so it was pretty safe to walk outside. But all of the lights in the campus were off, and it really made me think a whole lot about what the planet looks like without lights on it. The planet as a planet. Like, we were on the dark side of the moon or something. Or, like, what does night look like on Mars? And because I live on a college campus, we're not allowed to light candles. And though we had flashlights, we decided it was best not to use them because there were some emergency lights that came on, and we wanted to conserve the batteries of those things in case we needed them. Actually. Outside there were people wearing masks, which I thought was a little weird. I don't really know what they were trying to do, but I guess they thought it was funny, but it wasn't really funny, it was mostly just scary, which also might have been their point, I'm not really sure. We then sort of gathered all of our friends together as a group in the suite and played this game called Cards Against Humanity, which is basically a sort of offensive version of Apples to Apples. And all of this sort of like togetherness, coupled with the darkness that was going on and the fact that it was nighttime and that we were without power, made me think about segmented sleep and how that was a historical norm. Like, back in the olden days, people didn't sleep through the whole night. So what would happen is you would sleep for a good while, like a few hours, and then you would wake up for an hour or two, and you would talk with the people around you about maybe your dreams, or if you were a poet, you would write, and you would be uninterrupted, and then you would go back to sleep, and you would sleep until the morning. Which we eventually did after the power came back on and we stayed awake for a good while longer, happy again with the electricity and the internet. And when I woke up, I found this. It's almost a double. I can't even capture it on my camera. So bright and so vivid. All the good things you could ever say about rainbows have already been taken. Which I did not anticipate, as I was anticipating at least some semblance of a hurricane outside. Nick, I love your song choices. Minus Taylor Swift. I'm not saying it's a bad song. It's kind of a bad song. And it's not that I wouldn't do it because it's about her, like, loving a bad boy or something. I don't really care what the song's about. But it's also, like, sort of difficult. And did you notice how much she now sounds like Katy Perry? What gives, T-Swift? While I'd love to play all of those for you, I can only guarantee one. But I'd like to try for two. As a quick aside, I'd like to point out that every day that you neglect to do your challenge, you have to add 1 more minute onto the challenge time of the brushing of the teeth. So now, it's gonna be 2 minutes. How many carburetors on the motorcycle? Or 2 smooches on 2 different boys. However you'd like to do it. Also, I really hope you sent me that fun dip. I'm trying to make the background more pleasant for you to look at. So you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. First, I'd like to say that I don't think I'm quite grown up yet. And I'd like to say also that over the course of my life, I have wanted to be a good number of things, which is going to make it really difficult to tell you what I wanted to be most. So let me just list a couple of these things for you. My first memory that I have of wanting to be something when I grew up was a cowboy. Mostly because of Woody from Toy Story. After that, I wanted to be an astronaut because I was an astronaut for Halloween. And that seemed like the coolest thing. And to me, that still seems like the coolest thing. Which, now that I think about it, also covers Buzz from Toy Story. To infinity and beyond. I would hate to die without having stepped foot on the moon. Seems like kind of a waste of having it up there if you don't even get to visit it. This next one I think is one of the more influential ones in my life. When I think back on it now, it's actually sort of genius of me as a little boy. For a really, really long time in my life, I wanted to be a Native American. And this might sound funny to you because when you ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, you expect the answer of some type of occupation, whether it be cowboy, astronaut, doctor, nurse, policeman, any of these things are occupations. I think it's rare for someone to say that they want to be something that isn't an occupation. Like when I get older, I want to be a girl. Or when I get older, I want to be a dad. And much more so even for someone to want to be someone of a different ethnicity. When I get older, I want to have been from Spain. It's sort of a neat thing. But I really did want to, I wanted to be a Sioux Indian or Iroquois. I mean, I don't really discriminate. Would have settled for Navajo also. But just the whole sort of culture of it and the wearing of feathers and the use of the mohawk as a wartime intimidation, ceremonial things like hoop dances, throwing spears, making your own clothes, and also using every bit of what you take from the earth, being nomadic or being part of an agricultural community, either one, really intense rites of passage, worshipping an entire pantheon of gods, using the word wigwam on a daily basis, trading wampum. All of these things I find really fascinating, and I found them really fascinating as a child. And watching the film like Indian in the Cupboard or reading library books on Native American culture, which I did pretty often actually, really invested me enough in this culture that I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be able to relate to it and I wanted to live it. And I don't think that desire has stopped actually. I've just tried in small ways to integrate it in the way that I live now. So Nick, what do you want to be when you grow up? And has that changed at all from what you used to want to be when you grow up? Do your challenge or it's gonna get worse.
Iron Fist.
Nick, my question for you today are what are your top 3 favorite dance moves? And do demonstrate. I'll see you tomorrow.